A 7-year-old girl stood in front of mirror rays, blocking her path. Her brother clung to her side, holding a cardboard sign that read, "Do you speak US?" The girl's voice didn't shake. Said, "You're the woman who lost $928 million. My brother wants to know, can you translate without breaking our family?" Cameras flashed. Rain poured down, and from across the bay, the man Mira once worked for, billionaire Adrian Vale, stepped off a police boat and froze when he saw them. Mira's grip tightened on the blood-smeared contract in her hands. She hadn't seen him in 7 years, not since the day her single word cost him nearly $1 billion. Sirens wailed. Cameras leaned in. Mira's breath caught. The boy lifted the sign higher, and the wind almost took it. Behind the press, 2 men with matching blue umbrellas watched and didn't blink. The girl pointed across the bay. "He's coming," she whispered. "The man you left." Mira turned. Adrian Vale, the private jet, private island, private life billionaire, was stepping off a police boat, face pale as the rain. He saw Mira. He saw the kids, and his heart cracked out loud. Lena, he whispered, as if he knew the girl. "What is happening?" Mira's throat burned. "Why are you with him?" Lena's chin lifted. "We carry a message. From the money." Mira's fingers tightened on the contract as thunder rolled. From the money. No one had ever said it that way, not even the men who had hunted her across 2 continents. The first camera smacked the pavement. The reporters shoved forward, teeth bared. Adrian stumbled, then surged toward them, mouth shaping Mira's name. The blue umbrella men moved, clean and fast. Mira grabbed the kids and ran. She didn't know it yet. But the message in that girl's hands was worth more than the $928 million she'd lost. And it could get them all killed. To understand why, you have to go back 7 years to a single word that ruined everything. 7 years earlier, the word was unless. It was a single word in a $1 billion contract, and Mira Reyes spoke it. 2 weeks later, her life would be in ruins. Back then, she was the city's most trusted interpreter, fluent in 3 languages, working for billionaire Adrian Vale himself. She thought she was helping him save a city of jobs. She didn't know one clause would make $928 million disappear. "Unless," she murmured in a walled glass conference room, 40 stories up, Haji and Yumyun. Adrian paced, jacket off, tie loose, eyes quick. "Spell it out for me, Mira. Unless the security is pled, disbursement will be held in administrative trust," she said. A standard cautionary, more formality than threat. He nodded and smiled his lightning bolt smile. "We pledge, disperse. We save a city of jobs." Done. He trusted her. Everyone trusted her. 3 days later, the money moved. It didn't land, and Mira's name was about to be all over the news. $928 million vanished into a charity lattice in the space between clauses. The clause had been innocuous in Korean, not in the draft filed at 2 a.m. by a reconciled translator she hadn't vetted, not in the version that added 8 grey words in legal English and buried them in footnote 7. The money wasn't dispersed. It was diverted. By dawn, they needed someone to blame. Not the banker, not the fixer. They chose Mira, and Adrian didn't stop them. Cable news had a name to hang it on. Not the banker who insisted they skip cross-check, not the fixer with a smile like a bruise, not the irreconciled nobody. The name was cleaner, morally cinematic. Mira Reyes. She left Adrian that afternoon. She left the glass floors. She left the apartment with the window that looked like a slice of sky. She left because he didn't stop her. She told herself she left because she had to survive. She did not expect to see him again. Not like this, feral and soaked, security detail frayed, eyes older by a decade. "Amira," his voice cut through the rain. "Don't." Her feet were already moving. The kids were light, the backpack heavier, with something that thunked when Lena jumped a puddle. Oh, the boy, Tomas. She'd learn later. Didn't speak. but he clung to Mira's arm with fierce bird-like fingers. "A doxy," Lena said, yanking Mira toward a gate. "Uncle says doxy. He says trust the translator." "Who's your uncle?" Mira gasped. "The money," Lena said. "The part that got away." They ducked beneath tourists' awnings and slipped by the gate attendant who recognized Mira's face from too many headlines and froze. The blue umbrella men adjusted course, moving parallel, never hurrying, like they knew how the chase ended and had time to enjoy it. A ratcheted clank. Cuckoo. A boat rope loosened. A fishing woman with a jaw like a cliff blocked the aisle with her cart of bait. "You bringing trouble?" she asked, eyes flicking to the kids. "Or running from it?" "Yes," Mira said, and surprised herself with a laugh that sounded close to crying. The fishing woman lifted a crate. Beneath it, a hatch. She nodded toward it. "A drop-in, translator. I don't like the rain." Mira didn't ask why the woman knew her. Everybody knew her. When your mistake had a number that big, you were weather. They dropped into the boat's cabin. The hatch shut. Hatch shut. The engine grumbled awake. Through a porthole, Mira saw Adrian push through the crowd, saw a flash of anger when a reporter shouted murderer, saw it drain into something softer when his gaze caught a pink backpack and two small faces pressed to glass. He said something she couldn't hear. He looked like a man who had built walls, then learned water was patient. The boat pulled away, and the blue umbrella men didn't give chase. They stood on the dock and made a call. Inside the cabin, the air smelled like damp rope and instant coffee. Lena sat cross-legged and unzipped her backpack. She pulled out a metal lunchbox wrapped with stickers. She peeled them like old bandages. Underneath lay a stack of stained index cards, a battered flip phone, and a folded sheet of paper creased until it felt like cloth. The paper was covered in columns of numbers. Not clean ledger numbers. Not clean ledger numbers. Numbers that looked like prayers, crooked, smudged, halting. Lena slid the paper to Mira. "He told us to find you," she said. "Oh," Mira whispered. Lena whispered. Lena's eyes didn't blink. "The man who doesn't sleep. The one with the voice that forgets the word for sorry." Adrian, Mira said before she could stop herself. Lena said, "He and Uncle wrote paths on different days. We take the days when it rains." Tomas traced a number with his finger, 72,891. He traced it 5 times. Mira felt the old machine in her brain were to life. Pattern recognition, cross-lingual pun, code as grammar. She should shut it down. She should walk away. 7 years had taught her that proximity to rich men who could lose a city's payroll was a hazard, but the numbers pulled at her. The word unless pulsed behind her eyes like a bruise, and the boy's hand on the paper shook. "Where are your parents?" she asked gently. "Her mum works nights," Lena said, "and mornings, and Sundays. She says adult problems have long arms. She says we shouldn't answer if the arms knock. If the arms knock, Dad?" Mira asked. Lena's voice dropped. "We don't say that word," she said. "That word brings men with umbrellas." The engine throbbed. The cabin creaked. Mira opened the flip phone. It had no SIM card. The only thing inside was a tiny carved coin stuck under the battery, a crude boat etched into it. The fishing woman leaned down through the hatch and tossed a dry towel. "You're bleeding," she said. Mira checked her palm. The contract had cut her where the paper turned to glass. She'd grabbed it off a clerk's desk an hour ago because she knew the font, knew the way footnote 7s were born, and her hands had not been gentle. "Thank you," Mira said. The woman shrugged. "Rain makes everyone honest, even the rich." Mira glanced back out the porthole. Adrian stood on the dock, soaked and still. He looked small for the first time Mira had ever seen. Then he pulled his phone and made a call that made the men with blue umbrellas turn their heads. Mira's heart was stupid. It still flinched at his hands. She focused on the paper. Columns uneven. Not base 10, not dates, but familiar. "You said the message is from the money," Mira said. Mira said. "What does that mean?" Lena tapped the lunchbox. "Uncle said the money learned languages when it got scared," she said. "It hid pieces of itself. It promised to come home if we found its words. Mira laughed again, a sound like something ripping. Money doesn't make promises. The people do, Lena said. Before they run, Thomas slid another object across the table. A key, old iron, heavy in a way modern things weren't. Mira's thumb found a groove worn by someone who had needed the key often, or who had been frightened holding it. "Oh, do you think I can help?" she asked. Lena didn't blink. "Because everyone says you broke the word," she said. "So you must know how to fix it. The boat slowed. The fishing woman called down. You got 3 minutes at the pilings. After that, I'm chasing mackerel. 3 minutes for what?" Mira asked. Mira asked. "To decide," the woman said. "Women like that billionaire. They don't stop. Not for rain. Not for kids. You hop or you kneel." Mira stood. The contract in her fist crackled like a tiny fire. Through the hatch, she saw the bridge. Under it, a concrete shelf dry enough to crouch. Beyond it, the city that used to be hers if she had wanted it. She looked at Lena, at Tomas, at the numbers that were almost words. Then the cabin shuddered as something hard tapped the hull. A grey, rubber skiff slid alongside, quiet as a shark. 2 blue umbrellas folded down. The men underneath looked like no one until you looked longer. The taller one smiled at the kids, at the lunchbox, at the key. "You are popular today, Ms. Reyes," he said. His Korean was flawless. "Mr. Soren sends his greetings. He would love his property back." Lena's hand found Mira's. It was small but fierce. "Don't give it," she whispered. "Uncle said if we give it, the money drowns." Mira lifted her eyes to the men, to the bridge, to Adrian still a speck under a bright emergency light a quarter-mile back. She had 3 minutes, maybe less. "Mistress Reyes," the taller man said softly. "It's been 7 years. Tell me you are not still choosing the wrong side." Mira smiled without humor. "That would require there to be a right one?" The man's eyes warmed, like he enjoyed good dialogue. "The key, please." Tomas tugged Mira's sleeve and pointed at the numbers. He tapped 72,891 again, then he tapped the key, then he tapped the floor. Mira's mouth went dry. She knew that pattern. It was a coordinate cipher she had seen years ago in a lecture about old Korean partition maps. The key wasn't for a door. The key was for a story, the kind that made men kill to own it. "Our time," the fishing woman called. The taller man's smile did not change. "Miss Reyes?" Mira threw the key as hard as she could, but not where he expected. It clanged under the bench, then skittered into the bilge. The boy dove after it, slipping into a space only a child could reach. The man lunged. The fishing woman stomped on his hand. "Oops," she said calmly. Everything happened fast. The smaller man drew something from his coat. Not a gun, a pen. He clicked it twice. A tiny lead blinked red in the lunchbox hinge. Lena's voice shrank. "He found us." "Oh!" Mira asked. Lena swallowed. "The man who doesn't sleep." The lead bead blinked faster. Mira grabbed the lunchbox, snapped the hinge off, and flung it into the water. The red light bobbed, then started to sink. The taller man clicked his tongue. "Miss Reyes," he said. "A dramatic, but unnecessary. We only needed to confirm delivery." His pen vibrated. "Block letters. Close door. Count 12. Open." She slammed the door, counted down in a whisper. On 12, she pulled, and the room seemed to breathe. A negative pressure hissed, and something behind the cabinet clicked. The vending machine swung outward 2 inches. "You're kidding," Mira said. Tomas put his shoulder into it. Mira helped. It opened onto a narrow passage lined with old conduit and newer fiber cables. The walls stenciled with little ghost numbers, a smell of cold paper. They slipped inside. The machine side shut behind them. Silence. Until Lena's whisper, "We've built a whole house in a drain." "Not he," Mira said. They walked hunched, the passage turning twice before spilling into a room that did not fit under a river. It was high and rectangular, lined with steel shelves and flat files. Desiccant packs lay like little bones. A single desk lamp cast a yellow pool. On the far wall, a map, city grid overlaid with colored threads. red, blue, green, each thread pinned to a note card. Each note card typed with a name and a number, and, in the corner, a hand-drawn boat. Hyojin, the fishing woman, stood by the map, arms folded, dripping onto concrete. Hyojin lifted a brow. "You run well," she said. "If I tell you I hit a man with a gaff, you'll buy me breakfast?" "How did you?" Mira began. "Rivers have doors," Hyojin said. "You didn't think my boat tied itself?" She jerked her chin at the shelves. "Pick a drawer, translator. The one that speaks back is yours." "Amira!" Adrian's voice, muffled, then clearer as if it learned the route. He didn't appear, but the tunnel behind them filled with his echo. Amira, stop running. Every part of Mira wanted to run and to not run. She swallowed. "We don't have long." Hyojin didn't move, but something in her eased. And no one ever does. Lena beelined to the map. Her hand lifted, hovered, and landed on a card labeled Vale L 2018. She didn't touch it. She stared like it might burn. "Who is that?" Mira asked carefully. Lena's jaw tightened. "A knee letter. Not a person." Hyojin's eyes flicked sharp. "A kid's," she said softly. "A truth is a knife. You hold it wrong, it cuts your tongue." Tomas tugged Mira's sleeve, pointing at a flat file labeled Section Examen, Dispersal. The label made Mira's skin prickle. She slid it open. Inside, neatly wrapped in plastic, lay a stack of ledgers. Not PDF, not cloud backups. Paper hand-numbered, signatures inked hard enough to press through. And on top, a transcript. Her old voice in brackets, "Mr. Encore, the clause, the unless that ruined a city, except..." She read the paragraph and felt the ground shift. In her recall, the clause had been cautionary. Here, it bared teeth, but not at disbursement. At recipient inventory, 8 grey words had been added in English. Unless itemization includes humanitarian discretionary accounts. Humanitarian discretionary accounts. "It means," Mira said slowly, "the money only moves if it thinks it's going to people, not projects to names." Hyojin nodded at the threads on the map. "Names," she said. "So the clause was a trap." Lena's brow furrowed. "A filter," Mira whispered. "The diverted money, it didn't go to some shell. It atomized into assigned micro-holds." She pointed at the note cards. "So these..." The flip phone buzzed like agreement. "You see, now choose. Ikun 28 is a list." A list. Mira flipped another ledger. Card after card. Each card a micro-trust. Names printed in clean type. Kids' pensioners, strike victims, a janitor crew from a hospital that went dark. She ran her finger down a page and stopped dead. Rivas, Marisol, code. Tura, her chest folded in. "Marisol," she said aloud. The name sliced the air. Hyojin watched her neutral. "Who is Marisol?" Lena asked carefully. My friend," Mira said. Then, less talking to Lena and more to the rain, my shadow. Images hit. Late-night coffee with a paralegal who translated contracts to feed 2 kids. A woman who laughed, like she'd borrowed joy and expected to return it with interest. A woman who had gone silent the week the money vanished. What happened to her? Lena's voice was small. "I don't know." Mira said. She looked at the code. Turo, it wasn't random. Her brain spun. Spanish, road. Turo, not a Spanish word. Turo, not a Spanish word. Basque, Tagalog. She flipped the ledger. Other codes. Ferry, wall, room 7. Not language. Instructions. The desk lamp flickered. Hebe glanced at the ceiling. "A power's moody," she said. "You should, whatever you're doing, do it." Footsteps in the passage. Not hurried. Determined. Adrian's silhouette filled the doorway, breathing hard, hair plastered, suit muddy. He stopped when he saw the kids. Every part of his face softened. "Lena," Adrian said, voice cracked. "Where's?" "We don't say that word." Lena snapped, chin up like a fight, but her eyes shone. In the same. Tomas stared at Adrian's hands like he recognized their shape. Adrian's gaze swung to Mira. It was the first time in 7 years she saw apology live on his mouth. He looked at the map, the ledgers, the kids, Hyojin, then her. "I didn't know," he said quietly, "about this." "About the money not vanishing into a yacht?" Mira said. Her voice wanted to be cruel. It landed tired. He flinched. About who wrote the footnote that broke your life? The tunnel breathed behind him. A draft that carried careful footsteps. Umbrella tall and umbrella small, patient as mold. Oh. Ijin palmed the gaff, shadow behind her sharpening. Say it, Mira said, throat hot. You came to drag me to a camera, to fix your stock by fixing me. He lifted his hands. I came to ask you not to run. I came to tell you that the clause, it wasn't just you. You were a screw turned by someone else. The flip phone buzzed. He's not lying, he's late. Lena stepped between them as if being older than 7 was a choice. Uncle says adults make storms with their mouths, she said. We need boats, not weather. Adrian looked at Lena slowly. The way a man looks at a photograph he's not allowed to touch. What did you call him, Uncle? Oh, honey, Lena said. You gave it eyes. He blinked. Mira watched something like comprehension land on him and not break him. He looked at the Hisema 28 placard. The threads, 28 placard, the threads. Recognition, guilt, pride, 1,000 things. Movement in the doorway. Umbrella tall stepped in, smile slivered. Evening, he said, as if they were discussing dessert. He glanced at Adrian. Sir, Adrian's face froze. Soren, he said flatly. Not me, Umbrella tall said. But he sends the weather report. He fired you, Adrian said. You don't fire weather, Umbrella tall said. He kept his eyes on Mira. Even more, he took one slow step toward the flat file. Hyojin lifted the gaff. Your wrist already owes me 2 favors, she said. Soren's man smiled and stopped. No more live stream heroics. The pen trick was cute. This is paper. He looked to Adrian. He whoos. We choose for you. The words hit like a bell. Read this, Mira said to Adrian, thrusting him the transcript. Read what Unless really did. He scanned. His jaw worked. He whispered something that sounded like, Re. It wasn't a name Mira knew, a ghost of his old legal head, a woman who taught him to play clean in a game, built dirty. When you moved the funds, Mira said, pushing, who pulled the humanitarian trigger. Ooh-wee. In my general counsel, Adrian said slowly, and a reconciler I didn't vet personally. A paralegal, they said, could thread low-level translations on the overnight filings. His eyes cut to Lena and Tomas, then to the ledger page with Rivas, Marisol on it. He went white. Lena stiffened. He say the name and I'll scream, she warned. Marisol Rivas, Mira said softly. Your mother. Lena didn't scream. She didn't move. She solved a calculus in her head and set the answer aside for later like a sharp toy. My mother cleans floors, she said. She doesn't, she didn't. She translated, Mira said. She saved people, and then she vanished. The room held its breath. A beautiful, umbrella tall murmured, would play well on a podium. The flip phone buzzed urgent. Turo equals Turon. Sweet roll, bakery rear, 11th CH and pier. Lena's eyes lit. Achiron, she said. Mom loves those. Higejin moved to the map. Her fingertip landed on a green thread connecting Exigis po little dot labeled 11 and P. A back entrance, she murmured. Old delivery door. Of course, Mira said. E-section like initiated. List dispersal at node 28. Fallback cache at 11th and Pier. It's a route, not a verse. We're done here, Umbrella Tall said. Not unkind. We'll escort you. Cameras want faces. Let's choose them. Adrian stepped toward him, the old power slipping back like a coat. No, he said. No? Umbrella Tall lifted a brow, amused. Sir, you set this game and lost your dice. Adrian glanced at Mira, then Hyojin, then the kids. He took a breath that sounded like a decision rehabbing itself. Then we flipped the board, he said, and with one sharp yank he pulled the main light switch. Dark, concrete thumped. Hyojin moved like she owned the dark. Mira grabbed Lena's hand, Tomas's wrist, the ledgers, top file. A flashlight snapped on, umbrella small, but the beam smeared as Hyojin's gaff whacked his elbow. The light spun, drank itself in a corner. Go! Adrian shouted. "A left, low door." "Low door? I'm not following you," Mira snapped. Then led. Adrian shot back. Please. Please landed like a new language. They scrambled through the low door, shoulders scraping concrete. Behind them, Umbrella Tallest voice stayed conversational. "Bring me a page," he called to someone unseen. Just one. The passage tilted upward, then flattened. Ahead, a sliver of night. Street. They burst into an alley that smelled like sugar and rain. A neon sign buzzed overhead. Turon's, the apostrophe a lie. Metal racks stacked with cooling trays lined the wall, still warm. Hyojin slammed the door, jammed a rusted mixer under the handle. "That buys you a minute," she said. "Maybe." Lena pressed her palm to a dented back door with a sticker that said deliveries. "Her mom comes here Tuesdays." "It's Friday," Mira whispered. "The storm days are Tuesdays," Lena said with the kind of conviction only kids and thieves have. Tomas was already on his knees, key out, finding a small brass padlock hidden under a lip. He pushed the key in. It turned like it had been waiting. The door creaked inward, not a kitchen. A room cooled colder than rain. Filing cabinets. A cot. A single photograph on the wall. A woman with tired eyes and a smile like she didn't trust it. Marisol in pen on the back of the frame, visible through cheap glass. On the cot, a stack of passports. On top, a post-it. For L, for T, for M. And under it, a thumb drive taped crosswise like a bandage. Lena didn't cry. She put her hand on the post-it and breathed like she'd been holding her breath for 7 years. A mirror. Adrian's voice had no armor. He pointed at a second photograph, half tucked under the mattress. Mira pulled it free. A baby. A hospital. Tag. A baby. A hospital. A white card that said Vale in block letters. Lena stared. Her voice was sanded down. "What's that?" Adrian swallowed. He looked like a man eating glass. He said very quietly that I've made more than one mistake. Thunder rolled. The alley filled with the sound of more footsteps than they had seconds for, and from somewhere deeper in the bakery, a soft, deliberate cough. A woman's voice said from the shadows, "And don't say my name out loud," the voice Mira hadn't heard in 7 years. The door clicked. The room tightened. Marisol stepped from the shadow in a flour-dusted apron, thinner, eyes bright with lack of sleep. A faint scar ran from ear to collar. She didn't reach for Lena. She didn't reach for Mira. She reached for the light switch and turned it half, leaving them in a dim that felt like privacy. "Unlock it," Marisol said, "and put the passports down." "Those are hot." Hyojin dead-bolted the door. Lena froze with the post-it stuck to her palm. "Pow!" Tomas went very still, then slid the stack onto the cot like it might explode. Mira swallowed. "You're alive." "On odd-numbered days," Marisol said, a smile that didn't touch her eyes. Then the smile broke. She crouched and held her hands out. Lena didn't move. Tomas launched himself. He hit her ribs and clung. She inhaled like drowning backward. Adrian stood as if nailed to the floor. Marisol, don't," Marisol said without looking at him. "We don't use names. Not with walls this thin." Lena finally crossed the space. She didn't hug. She stopped one step away and stared. Away and stared. "Did you make the money talk?" Marisol's mouth bent. They taught it to listen. Thunder stacked in the alley. Footfalls controlled. Umbrella Tallest voice. Light through rain. Doors flimsy. Our patience too. Marisol rose. "All business. We have 4 minutes." 3. If he brought a man with a pry bar. Hyojin oven. Trigin peeled a rack aside, revealing a blackened panel. She kicked it. The panel clanged and swung inward. Heat and metal breath rolled out. "To where?" Mira asked. "A flower shoot." Then the shoot's cousin, Marisol said. She flicked her gaze to Mira. "You found Xane, 28? "Yes," Mira said. It wasn't embezzlement. It was a sieve. Marisol's chin dipped. "We went where auditors don't. Names, faces. You always said contracts are stories." "Well, you said that before I... know what you said," Marisol cut softer. And I know what you paid for it. Adrian stepped forward, hands spread. If I had known you didn't want to, Marisol said. Wanting to know is a job. Lena's voice was a scrape. What is he to me? Silence thudded. Mira felt it before Marisol answered. Felt it in the way Adrian couldn't look at anyone but the floor. In the photo tag that said veil like a rubber stamp on a life. Marisol met Lena's eyes. No drama, just a fact placed between them like bread. He's your father, D. The room tilted. Lena didn't cry. She shook once, a small earthquake going quiet. Very even. You said, very even. You said we don't say that word. I said we don't say his name. Marisol said, and we don't when microphones are hungry. But truth is still truth. Adrian took a step, stopped himself. I didn't know. She never... You knew enough to hide, Marisol said. We can fight later. Right now, those passports have trackers. Cheap, clever ones. Soren writes budgets like poems. She took the stack, pried the cover off one, and dug out a grain the size of a sesame seed. She dropped it into a steel mixing bowl, added 3 more, and slid the bowl into the oven's mouth. Let them chase heat. The flip phone in Mira's pocket buzzed. Oven 2. Back vent. Go. Mira exhaled. Your network loves theater. He grabbed the taped thumb drive from the cot and pressed it into Mira's hand. If I don't walk out, this finds the river at dawn. Understand? What's on it? Mira asked. Mira asked. Every signature Soren forged to make you the villain, Marisol said. And the kill switch. Adrian's head snapped up. A kill switch for what? The list, Marisol said. You don't think the money would move without teeth? The door shuddered as something wedged under it. A pry bar. Umbrella Tallest whistled, cheerful. A knock-knock. Elena's breath quickened. She clutched Tomas's shoulder and didn't look at Adrian. If you're my dad, she said, voice flat, then why did we have to be brave alone? He flinched like she'd hit him. Because I was a coward, Adrian said. No spin, no purr, just the sentence. It landed. Mira squeezed Lena's hand once, raised Lena's hand once. Then she shoved the thumb drive into a pocket sewn inside her jacket seam. We move. Hyejin slid into the oven tunnel first, boots finding rungs. Tomas followed, light as a rumor. Lena hesitated, eyes on Marisol. Oh, you're coming. I am, Marisol said. She wasn't. Mira saw it in the set of her shoulders, in the way she glanced not at the tunnel but at the door and the mixing bowl and the ledgers still in Mira's hand. Don't, Mira said, sudden, sharp. Someone has to keep them busy, Marisol said, equally quiet, and someone has to choose. Now the message said, unless you choose, we choose for you, Mira said. This isn't that. It is, Marisol said, her eyes softened for the first time. You taught me that words are levers. I used one. I need to finish pulling. She touched Lena's cheek, a mother's palm. Her. Lena leaned into it for a breath. Just one, then pulled away like it burned. You promised we'd stay together, she whispered. I promised you'd stay whole, Marisol said. Whole isn't the same as together. The pry bar squealed. The deadbolt groaned. Adrian moved to the door. I hold them, he said. I owe you that. I know, Marisol said. Your press, they need your face later, to bleed on camera. He didn't argue. He hated that he didn't argue. Mira could see him doing math he'd avoided for years. We have a problem, Hyejin called up from the tunnel. Hyejin called up from the tunnel. A floodgate stuck. Too much sugar crust. I need hands. I'm hands, Mira said. She dropped into the heat, caught the rungs with wet palms, hissed, kept going. The chute angled, then squared. At the bottom, a grated panel jammed with hardened caramel. Hyejin jammed a crowbar and swore in 3 languages. On 3, Mira said. They heaved. It gave a scream and slid enough to make a person-shaped gap. Above, wood splintered. Marisol kissed Tomas's hair. Then she pressed something into Adrian's hand, a card with a number and a single word, apologize. He stared at it like it was a detonator. You'll get one chance, Marisol said. It cloak wasted on optics. She closed the oven panel, twist-locking it from the outside. Darkness hugged them. Lena's breath was ragged. Tomas' hand found Mira S. They shimmied down bellies to warm iron. Flour coated their throats. The tunnel narrowed, then breathed open. The grate led to a maintenance corridor lit by emergency strips. Somewhere far, water talked in pipes. Behind them, a bang. Then another. Boots in the room. Umbrella tall S voice, pleased. A kitchen. Lena stopped. We can't leave her. We can't help her by being caught, Mira said. They moved. They moved. They moved. They moved. At the corridor bend, a keypad blinked meanly beside a steel door, 4 digits. No clues. Akin said, try Turo map to numbers, Mira said, fingers flying. 8,876. Red. Adrian peered, squinting. Igiad, 20. Each, try 1128. Try 1128. Green. The lock thunked. Door slid. They spilled into a cavern under the pier. The river breathed through gaps in the planking. A little skiff bobbed, rope tied to a cleat with a fisherman's knot. On the seat, a dry bag and a thermos labeled Hagin's hands off. Bless, Hygiene said, and cut the rope with her teeth. Mira turned back down the tunnel. Heat pressed. Smoke, thin but new. The ancient flip buzzed once. Sorry. Be kind. Then another message, quick, like a heartbeat. Run. A bloom of light pulsed through the chute seams. Not fire. Flashbang white. Mira flinched. Lena covered Tomas' ears. From above. Chaos. Shouts. A body hit a counter. Go, Adrian said. He ushered the kids into the skiff like glass, then stopped. He looked back the way they'd come. And where they'd come, not go back. You can, Mira said, but she knew the truth. He had to put his face where the pain was or live in PR speak forever. You leave with them, he said to Mira. If I don't make it, you give that drive to the city before dawn. You think I'm doing this for your redemption arc. Mira snapped. No, he said. I think you do the right thing when it hurts. He ran. Aydin swore like a prophecy and cranked the motor. The skiff coughed and caught. They shot into black water, the pier's ribs overhead like the inside of a whale. Lena didn't look back. She stared at the dark, like it owed her money. Tomas tucked himself small, the key on his chest pinging softly with each bump. Mira's hands shook on the tiller. You trust him? Hyejin asked, not looking. I don't, Mira said. I trust a mistake trying to be less. They cleared the pier. Rain met them like a wall. Rain met them like a wall. Sirens skated across the water. On the embankment, blue umbrellas bloomed like bruises. The flip phone buzzed again. North slip, white van, 2 minutes. A white van, Hyejin echoed. Everyone has a white van. They cut left, hugging shadow. The skiff's wake stitched quick V's. Under the next pier, a van idled, rear doors open, no lights. A figure waved, slight hood up, hand-gloved. Is that? Mira began. Not me, said a voice from the van, dry as law school in winter, though I do appreciate your punctuality. Rhea stepped into the spill of rain. Perfect posture, pistol low and casual. Adrian S., old general counsel. The woman whose name he whispered at the ledger. She smiled without warmth. Hi, boss, she said to the dark behind Mira, and her eyes slid to the kids. Let's have a talk about custody. Eros' pistol stayed low but decisive. Rain stitched silver between her and the skiff. Hygiene eased the boat alongside the pier, motor whispering. Mira kept one hand on the tiller, the other on Lena's shoulder. Hands, Rhea said mildly. Where I can see them. I can see them. Especially yours, Translator. We always liked theatre, Mira said, lifting her palms. Where's your client? Tipped her chin at the dark under the pier. Everywhere. But I'm here solo. Safer that way. For you, Hagen muttered. Red's smile twitched. For the kids, for the kids, for the kids. She scanned Lena, then Tomas. The smile thinned. He looks like him, she said softly, as if she hadn't meant to say it out loud. Lena squared herself. We're not getting in a van. You might, Rhea said. The court thinks I'm your guardian. What court? Mira asked. The one that signed a sealed emergency order at 3 p.m., based on an affidavit stating the miners were in immediate danger, Rhea replied, almost bored. She reached into the van slowly, one-handed, and produced a folder wrapped in plastic. She tilted it open to show official seals. Her name's redacted because the world is loud. Hyojin snorted. You wrote the affidavit. Said she met Mira's eyes. I also wrote footnote 7. Don't flinch. If you wanted a villain, you should have chosen one without a conscience. The air tightened. You wrote it, Mira said. The words finding bone. Yes, Rhea said simply. Because when Soren pitched a philanthropic accelerator, the recipient lists were contractors with saints' names. Because Marisol walked into my office at 2 a.m. with a spreadsheet that smelled like real people. Because your unless was a lever and I put my full weight on it. She told you? Mira whispered. The betrayal cut both ways and didn't because it saved lives. She begged, Rhea said. Then she erased herself. The claws worked, the money learned to hide. But it also made enemies, and they have longer pockets. She flicked a glance past them. You have 90 seconds before blue umbrellas and board uniforms make this academic. You want the drive, Mira said. I want the kids safe, Rhea said. And yes, the drive before Soren does. He'll torch the list, then torch the city's belief there was ever a list. Lena crossed her arms. Why would we trust you? Because I'm the only monster who wrote a will, Rhea said. She tossed the folder. It skidded to the edge of the pier. Hyojin snagged it with the boat hook. Inside the court order lay 2 notarized letters, one to Lena, one to Tomas, handwritten, signature. Marisol Lena didn't take them. She stared like the paper could bite. You're lying. Open it, Rhea said quietly. Mira slid one out and read enough to taste the voice. Salt. Salt. Coffee. The way Marisol looped her R's when she was scared, it was real. Where is she? Mira asked, throat tight. Alive, if Soren is bored, Rhea said. Less alive if you stall. The pier above them creaked with footsteps. Umbrella Tall S whistle trilled, cheerful as poison. Rhea's arm dropped a fraction. The translator, the drive for the kids. I'll decoy the chase, put them in a judge's lap for the night, and tomorrow we do the thing loud with cameras that don't blink. You plan your ethics like press releases, Hyojin said. Are correct, Rhea said. Because losing in public is how men like Soren finally bleed. Tomas reached forward, fingers trembling, and touched the pistol like it was a snake. Rhea didn't pull back. She looked at him. Hey, little man, she said softly. You know my name. He did something Mira had not heard him do. He spoke, a whisper, but clear. Rhea's face cracked. It wasn't her name. It was close enough, the way a 5-year-old might remember a face from a hospital corridor. Hey, Rhea said, voice shifting, an old warmth flaring and gone. Used to bring your mama sloppy empanadas every night. She forgave me because I wrote well. Lena blinked. The world moved under her feet in a way that had nothing to do with tide. He knows you, she said. Everyone knows me, Rhea said. And that's the problem. A radio crackled on her hip. A radio crackled on her hip. A male voice. Unit 3, visual on white van. Stand by, Hyojin hissed. Pick a devil, she told Mira, fast. Mira moved the skiff closer, so Rhea had to step back or get bumped. She didn't. She held her ground, pistol steady but not cruel. Where's Adrian? Mira asked. Peeling a fire alarm and pissing off a SWAT lieutenant, Rhea said. He bought you 2 minutes. 1 left. You fired him, Mira said. He fired me. I kept the job, Rhea said dry. A business school would call that resilient. Lena's jaw set. If he's his. She jerked her chin at Tomas. Then why are you deciding? Because the last time I let him decide, he picked the wrong truth, Rhea said. I'm correcting a memo. The rain eased to a cold sand. Mira heard her own pulse. The drive burned against her ribs. You trade the drive, Hyojin warned. If she has it, she has you. Or we play cute and Soren takes everything, Rhea said. Your call, Reyes. You've been carrying that weight 7 years. How's your back? Mira looked at Lena, at Tomas, at the letters she didn't want and needed. She saw Marisol's hands in the loops. She saw Adrian running toward Noise. She saw Soren whistling like he'd already won. "Okay," Mira said. "We trade. But on my terms." Umbrella tall his shoes appeared above, then his face inverted and amused. "What a coincidence," he said. "On my terms, too." Rhea didn't look up. "You're late," she said. "I already moved the meeting." "You moved paper," Umbrella Tall said. "I moved men." He leaned, saw the kid, smiled like a postcard. "Evening airs?" "Airs?" Lena shot back. To what? Bad decisions." "To a foundation," Umbrella Tall said pleasantly, "and a narrative. Come along." He lifted a hand. 2 uniforms clattered onto the pier behind him. Real cops, confused, hungry for orders. Umbrella Tall flipped a badge at them without showing it long enough to read. A federal asset transfer. "Step back." Rhea's pistol rose to chest level. "Gentlemen," she said, "if you take one more step, I'll ruin your pensions with a paragraph." One of the cops hesitated. The other didn't. He moved. Hyojin slammed the throttle forward. The skiff lurched. Rhea hopped, not into the boat, but onto the pier rail, balancing like a cat, pistol locking onto Umbrella Tall's shoulder. "Hoorays," she said without turning. "The drive. A catch," Mira said, and threw the folder instead. Rick Horted, instinct winning. Paper fanned, passport skittering. The cops grabbed air. Umbrella Tall blinked, micro-amused, then stepped back from the edge to avoid a fall. Mira used the beat. She ripped the dry bag open and yanked out a flare gun. Bright orange, ugly, loaded. Lena stared. "We have a gun?" "A very loud one," Mira said, raising it. "Hooray, 3 o'clock." Pivoted just enough. Mira fired. The flare screamed past Umbrella Tall's ear, caromed off a piling, and exploded into magnesium daylight under the pier. Everyone flinched, eyes seared white. "Down!" Hyojin barked and punched the throttle again. The skiff slid sideways under the glare, then shot into open rain, leaving a gout of smoke and shouting behind. Rhea's voice chased them, infuriatingly calm. "You'll call me in 9 minutes, Reyes. You'll need a judge and a burner and my terrible bedside manner." The river took the sound and chewed it. They ran the shoreline low and fast. Sirens roved like wolves. Mira's hands were steady now because they had to be. Lena blinked, tears out like they were rain in the wrong place. Tomas curled around the thermos as if holding heat made sense. Holding heat made sense. The flip phone buzzed. "Bridge 2, left pylon, elevator." "And there's an elevator in a bridge?" Lena said, incredulous. "An elevator in everything," Hyojin said. They slid behind the second bridge's concrete leg. A metal maintenance door hunched there, mean and unlabeled. Hyojin cut the engine. Mira vaulted to the ladder, shouldered the door. "Locked." "A key," Tomas whispered, and pressed the iron into her palm. It fit. Of course it fit. The door opened on a cage, lift the size of a coffin. Hyojin shoved them in and yanked the lever. The elevator groaned upward into the bridge's throat, cables singing as they rose, city lights braided through the rain. Lena crushed the letters to her chest and finally said, "I hate this." "Me too," Mira said. It was the only true thing big enough. "Ah." Halfway up, the cage shuddered to a stop. Red bulb, dead panel. "A power cut," Hyojin said. "He's learning." A beat of silence. Then a voice from the shaft above. Faint, urgent. "Amira, Adrian." Wet, breathless, close. "Here," Mira called. A panel slid. A rope dropped. Adrian's face appeared upside down, filthy, wild-eyed. "Climb," he said. "And now?" "What about Marisol?" Lena demanded. Adrian swallowed. "She bought us 3 minutes with a story and a fire extinguisher," he said. Then Soren walked in. "Alive?" Mira asked. Mira asked. "For now," he said. "A move." They moved, up and out onto a narrow catwalk vibrating with traffic. Wind hit them with both hands. Adrian hauled Tomas like a football, then Lena, then Mira. Hyojin swung last, pulling the rope as the elevator sparked below. "Where?" Mira panted. "East Anchorage," Adrian said. Resetting a judge. "Don't glare at me. I hate it too." It's leverage we can use. Are you two working together now? Ayadin asked, holding the cage panel shut. We're bleeding in the same direction, Adrian said. He looked at Tomas. The boy stared back. Something passed between them. Recognition, fear, a math problem with too many variables. Tomas, Adrian said carefully. I'm late, Lena said. You're late. He took it. Yes. He offered his hand. Tomas looked at Lena. She nodded once. He put his small palm in Adrian S. He put his small palm in Adrian. The world didn't right itself. It tilted less, wind-knifed. Kyojin led them to a door sprayed with letters, the city never painted. Inside, a maintenance room with a dead vending machine and a coil of incredibly illegal rope. Adrian grabbed the rope, tested the line. The flip phone trembled. Chambers in 14. Audio only. A judge in 14 minutes, Mira said. Then they make a record, Adrian said. And if Soren cuts the feed? Adrian asked. We make a bigger one, Adrian said. He dug in his pocket, pulled a small black cylinder with a blinking blue lid. Body mic. I was going to do a press statement. We do court instead. He clipped it to Mira's lapel. His fingers brushed fabric, not skin. It still felt like static. Boots clanged in the shaft below. Umbrella tall S whistle climbed, patient. Lena slid the letters into her backpack and squared her shoulders like a 7-year-old soldier. What's the plan? She said. We walk into a courtroom no one can see, Mira said, and tasted the old burn of simultaneous translation rising in her throat. And we teach money to testify. A shape filled the doorway. Not umbrella tall. Bree, soaked, breathing hard, hair down, pistol gone. She didn't smile. Your mic on? She asked. Yes, Adrian said. I said. Because he's coming up the other side of the bridge with a child protective worker and a news anchor. Of course he is, Mira said. Ree lifted a small device with 2 antennas. Also, she added, the kill switch. It's not a metaphor. His eyes hit Lena, then Tomas. If Soren gets root on the ledger tonight, the micro holds invert. Every card on that wall becomes a withdrawal order on their names. It steals from them, Adrian said, color leaving his face. Publicly, Rhea said. He'll call it rebalancing. Lena swayed, caught herself. So we're not just saving a story, we're stopping a robbery with better grammar, Mira said. Rhea nodded once. The judge in 14? She's brave but not suicidal. She'll need a phrase that keeps her on the bench when this goes feral. What phrase? Mira asked. Rhea's mouth twitched. A preliminary injunctive custody of funds. She looked at Mira. Say it clean in both languages. And don't hate me for what comes next. What comes next? Adrian said. Rhea opened the maintenance door. Soren stepped in, smiling like a polite accident. News anchor at his shoulder, child protective worker behind, clipboards already loaded. Blue umbrellas framed him like a halo. And because the universe kept its sense of timing, Tomas lifted his chin, looked at the man who made storms for a living, and said his second word of the night. No, the room stopped. Soren's smile didn't. It sharpened. Shall we begin? He said, and the catwalk shuddered under all that weight. The catwalk vibrated under their feet. Soren stepped in first, rain sliding off his tailored coat, the CPS worker and a news anchor tight behind him. Blue umbrellas filled the doorway like a moving wall. Tomas S&O still hung in the air, small, sharp, undeniable. Small, sharp, undeniable. Adrian moved without thinking. Not forward, not back. Just far enough to stand between the kids and Soren. A door that had finally learned its job. Rhea lifted a device bristling with twin antennas. We're on record in 90 seconds, she told Soren. So maybe save the gloating. The device crackled. This is Judge Patel, a clipped voice said. State your appearances. Names passed like papers down a table. When it came to Mira's turn, her voice didn't waver. Interpreter, custodian of evidence. Adrian followed. Father, respondent. Original grantor of the humanitarian microtrusts. Silence. Then, Mr. Vale, the judge said. Is that true? Yes, Adrian answered. Ria didn't waste a breath. Your Honor, we request preliminary, injunctive custody of funds and protective orders for the miners. Opposing parties are attempting to revert allocations intended for humanitarian beneficiaries. Ms. Reyes, translate that order, the judge said. Any change of beneficiary, withdrawal, transfer, or pledge as collateral is strictly prohibited. The funds are frozen under the protection of this court. The words landed like a chain snapping shut. Soren's smile tilted. Pretty, he said. Oh, but the system still listens to me. He held up a small black fob. Not anymore, Ria said flatly. Mira's flip phone buzzed in her pocket, kill switch armed. Need second signature. A grantor's consent, Ria told Adrian. Adrian didn't blink. I cede control. All of it to the court. My signature follows. My assets follow. My assets follow. My name follows last. A high chime confirmed it. The phone buzzed again. Trigger phrase. Beneficiary consent. Mira crouched to Lena's height. I say you want the court to hold it safe. No one else. Lena's eyes cut to Soren. Then Adrian. Finally, Turian. Finally, Tomas. I choose the court, she said. Hold it. For ours. Oh, for them. The antenna device chirped like a lock turning. Judge Patel's voice softened. So ordered. Blue umbrellas shifted but didn't advance. The CPS worker stepped back. The news anchor lowered her mic. Soren adjusted his cuffs. A temporary, he murmured. Long enough, Ria said, for you to trip over discovery. He left. His people followed. The catwalk stilled. Adrian crouched again at the kid's level. I won't ask for forgiveness, but I will ask to be useful. Tomas studied him for a beat, then pressed the iron key into Adrian's palm. Hold, he said, his third word tonight. Adrian's throat worked, but he said nothing. The judge's line went dead. Rain hissed through the open door. Mira realized her hands were shaking and let them. Lena stepped close enough for her shoulder to rest against Mira's arm. No words, no need. Oh, we're not done, Elena said. No, Mira agreed. We just put the money in timeout. Hyojin shoved the maintenance stairwell open. Come on, let's bridge as ears. They went together. Not family, not yet, but something that could be. Down the stairs into a rain that no longer felt like punishment. Across the ribs of the bridge toward a white van that for once was theirs. Behind them, the city's lights burned steady across the water, a grid finally balanced. For tonight.